Well, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when this finds you. And if you find some value in this, I just ask that you share it. With everything that's going on, this is not something I normally do, but I'm going to ask you to do this for me when you listen to the videos. Can you click the like button? Because when you click the like button, it moves up in well, like we used to have as kids, the ViewMaster. It'll move up and it'll get exposed to more people. But if you don't click like, a lot of times it get pushed down to the bottom and it doesn't reach as many people as I believe it can and help them out. But I just want to talk a little bit more about us as men and because we got some issues because a lot of men are physically absent from the home and some of them actually physically in the home but mentally absent from the home. And so, they could be what we call there physically, but absent mentally and morally. And because of this, a lot of our boys have no one to guide them in growing into young men and grown men in society later on in life. And the school system is largely staffed by females. I'm not knocking that. Two of my sisters are school teachers. My brother-in-law was a school teacher. He's in administration now. And we have to applaud them. I know a lot of school teachers, but most of them are females. And a lot of times in the classroom, these female teachers complain about the behavior of our boys because boys will not sit still and learn like girls. And with a large segment of the schools getting rid of recess, and sometimes some schools even got rid of physical education, boys have no outlet for all of their excess energy. So in response, they're considered to be tyrants in the classroom. They get labels such as ADD or ADHD. I was actually talking to a young man, um, and he was talking about he was labeled ADHD early on, and the medication was brand new, and his mother allowed him to get the medication, and it kind of messed him up somewhat. And so, they put labels on him, and because they won't sit still in class. Boys are not bred to sit still. Now, I remember when I was in the fifth grade, uh, being sent outside to dusty races during class if I finished my work early enough. And I was talking to my parents one day, this is some years back, and they told me that they had actually had a talk with my fifth grade teacher, Miss Prince, because Miss Prince told them I would finish my work early, a lot faster than the rest of my classmates, and I just act up in class. They told her to give me more work, which she did. And I finished that early too. And they all agreed to send me outside to dusty races while the rest of the class, my classmates, finished their work. Well, when I found out, and having this conversation with my parents, um, well, not having a conversation, when I found out I could get out of class by finishing my work early, I worked much faster. And, so I laughed when my parents told me because what they thought was a form of punishment to me was actually a source of happiness. Because even today, I hate being inside four walls for long periods of time without being able to get up and leave when I want to, when I feel like it. So, um, as an alternative to giving the boys outlets to release their energy, they started to put boys on medications to make them docile or do as girls do. And kind of what they're trying to do to all of society right now via medication is make society docile, because when you're docile, you can't fight back. You're lazy, you're apathetic, you don't think. You know, boys used to play football in the streets and in the grass when I grew up. When elementary school, we played football before school, and you know, all of us boys, we played football in the grass. We tried hard to make sure we didn't get no grass stains in them jeans or them slacks, because our mothers knew what we had been doing if we came home with grass stains in them pants. But we used to play football, and as a boy, I used to walk the neighborhood. I think I was around age 10, around fifth grade, and I would ask people if they needed their grass cut or not. And I eventually got 3 yards on a regular basis until the older boys saw I was making the money, and then they could do a better job, so they came and, you know, worked a little bit harder than me and stole my yard from me later on. And you know, I grew up in a house of 3 sisters. I was the only boy in the house of 3 sisters. And there were some behaviors that were expected of me as a boy, and there were some behaviors expected of them as girls. And, you know, there were certain ways as a boy I was supposed to conduct myself, and there were certain ways as girls they were supposed to conduct themselves. There were certain ways boys dressed, and there were certain ways girls dressed. That's just the way it was. And, you know, some not going to like this, but males are not supposed to wear earrings. And, you know, some people have pointed out to me the old Viking movies and all of that stuff. And, you know, but the Bible says men don't adorn themselves in women's attire, and women don't adorn themselves in men's attire. And, you know, a lot of my buddies, you know, have earrings, and that's the business. But it's not. That doesn't make it right just because they do it. I mean, they say it's fashion statements. Okay, whatever. You know, but I just never got into it. You know, but over in Deuteronomy 15 and 17 and Exodus 21 and 6, you know, it's clear. It's a clear explanation of the thought process behind what pierced ears by men mean. And for a man that gets his ears pierced, what he's telling his master he wants to be his servant for the rest of his life. And whew, that gave me chills even thinking about it. You know, we have people dressing up now. We can't tell. Some men, some women. We don't know. I was in the store the other day, and you know, I'm not putting the guy down, but you know, I'm a big guy. This guy was bigger than me, and I asked a question, and I thought I was speaking to a woman. You know, I mean, to each his own. But you know, you can sit here and say, you know, we don't judge. We don't have to judge. We can just speak the truth. And then speaking the truth, we get told we're judging. But there were only 2 genders created, male and female. And you know, I like what a lot of these governors are doing now, putting these laws on the books. Say, no, you ain't. If you were born male, you ain't participating in no female sports. I like that. Matter of fact, I love that. You know, I read something the other day. These men identifying as women being sent to women's prison and they're raping the women. Y'all think this stuff is okay? You know, and when we say we born opposite of what we actually are, we actually calling God a liar. We're saying God's confused. God did not intend for us to be something that we're not. And His word is very clear on things that are abominations. Men lying with men, women lying with women, lying with children, lying with animals, all that stuff. You know, so you know it's not just men, it's women too. I think that's over in Romans 20 and 13, and Romans. Romans is 26 and 27. As Leviticus, that's 20 and 13. And so we got all these folks out there want to confuse what's supposed to be, and that's why we have all the problems we have right now. You know, there used to be a time in this society where men used to open car doors for women, and a man would remove his hat when he approached a woman. Today, men don't remove their hats when they enter the building. Some even sit in restaurants and eat with their hats on. I mean, do what you want to do. You know, there's nothing wrong with men treating their women like a queen, because that means in return, she's gonna naturally treat you like the king. Now you got some women out there that just ain't gonna do it. They feel like they prima donnas, and they just ain't gonna treat you right regardless of what you do. And that's just like men. You know, some folks you just can't make happy on either side. And I think I'm gonna do a talk at some point. I don't know when I'm gonna release it. I'm fairly certain I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna talk about some generational curses and talk about why men participate in domestic abuse and why women accept that behavior. But I'm not going to talk about that on here. But I'm still trying to get back to a level of normalcy myself. So I'll open my wife's car door when we're getting in, but in most cases I'm moving so slow right now. She doesn't wait for me to come around and open and let her out. But, you know, before I got down, I would actually open my wife's car door when she was getting in and when she gets out. She knew not to, but like I said, it takes me forever to get around the car right now. And, you know, but I'm almost out of the woods. But, I mean, and what I said, I see a lot of men who get in their vehicle and they start the car before the woman even get in the car. Before she even opened the door, they even cranked it up. And I've seen some men, you know, they go to the store with their wife, girlfriend, whatever, and they'll get in the car, open the trunk for it, let her load all the groceries up. I mean, what kind of example is that setting for our boys? You know, I see men and women approach a door, and a lot of them will open it up enough for himself and walk in. And he'll leave her right there at the door, and she'll grab the door and open it for herself. Now, if I approach the door at the same time as women, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to grab that door, and I'm going to open it. As a matter of fact, if I approach the door before a woman, and she's a few steps behind me, I'm going to sit there and hold that door until that woman comes through it. But that's just me. But you got a lot of men out there won't even hold the door for their own woman. They open it enough for them to just squeeze through. And these women want to know why they got problems with their men. You allowed yourself to settle for low standards in a man. And but it's not my duty to hold the door for men, but I'm a firm believer that chivalry is still alive. So you do it anyway. We should always strive to do the right thing, regardless of others' lack of manners and their training at home. Because a lot of them got some poor training. I heard it say the other day, most of our problems in society stem from poor parenting. And, you know, we got some people out there that disagree with it. You know, I didn't say all problems. I said most problems. And because you got two messed up adults that don't want to try to improve themselves, trying to have kids and raise a family, and all they're doing is passing on messed up mentalities. So you do it anyway. You know, I just don't. I don't understand. Like I said, I guess growing up in the house with three sisters and a mother, you know, it's just certain things, you know, I was taught to do. You know, I didn't see a lot of, in all honesty, you know, I didn't see my stepdad do a whole lot as far as opening car doors and all that other stuff. You know, I didn't see that. And so my goal was to strive to do things that I didn't see that I felt were right. And I mean, if it doesn't work for you, okay, it doesn't work for you. I'm just telling you what works for me. You know, Gentleman I'm familiar with, he just passed, a few weeks back. And I remember saying that a gentleman asked him one day, when should I tell my wife I love her? And he said, before some other dude does, you big dummy. And these guys want to wonder why it's so easy for another man to slide in and catch his woman's ear. And because she might be talking to you, you might not be hearing her. Or she might just be frustrated with you because you're not showing her, you threw all that courtship out the window when you got married. So you're not treating her right. And in most cases, women are looking for sex. They're looking for a man that listens. And if a man listens, she gonna give him sex. I'm just telling you how it works. So you might want to start listening. You might want to be attentive to her needs. And even my granddaughter, she told me, she called me BP. Look at BP. I need you to hurry up and get well. So you can get back to your responsibilities, opening these doors. And one day, my wife said her and a coworker were riding together, and coworker made the statement that she needed gas. No, Cynthia made the statement that she needed gas, and the coworker told her, "Oh, Miss Jones, there's a gas station right down the street." And my wife said she told her, "No, I don't put gas in my own car." And she said her coworker told her, "Mr. Jones just had you spoiled." Like I said, she did have some situations, some instances where she had to do it because of my mobility, but I don't really like her to be in that predicament. And so, I think you're supposed to spoil your wife. That's just me. And if someone, let's say, you can show them better than just saying it, back to talking about when you just tell your wife you love her, and before somebody else, some men, and I've been told that you can show your wife better than just saying it, and some men just have a funny and sometimes demeaning way of showing their love. Cursing at your wife and calling her name in the heat of an argument is not the proper way to show love. Physical abuse is not the way to show love. I believe we need a balanced approach to express our love. You need to say it, your wife needs to hear, but you also need to show it. And because most men out there, most women don't understand each other's love language. So the way you're communicating to your wife might not be the way that she understands. It might not be the way that gets her buttons going. So you're communicating all the wrong way because you haven't taken the time to understand who she is. And the same way for you, women. Small acts of kindness along with verbal expressions go a long way. You just think about that a little bit. I grow roses, well, they out there now. I'm not really attending to them, but years ago I would cut them out of the yard and just put them in a vase and take them to Cynthia's job. And throughout the school year, at school it didn't matter which, the last school she worked at was close to our home, but the school she was working at when I met her was in another country. I wasn't in another country, but it wasn't around the corner, I tell you that. Put a lot of miles on the car every week going out there. But I still would drive out there to take her some fresh cut flowers. And so, I did that because I didn't want her to feel special when all the other guys are showing their woman attention. I wanted to make the other women kind of jealous, so I used to cut her flowers and bring them all the time. And so First Timothy 5:8. This is one of my favorites. It says, a man is supposed to provide for his family. And it's actually supposed to be our responsibility and ours alone. And that's not being taught from anybody nowadays. We're not hearing that from our dads. We're not hearing it from grandfathers for those who still living. We're not hearing it from the pulpit. We're not hearing it from mentors. We're not hearing it from anybody. You'll hear that, it takes two incomes to make it now. Well, as I heard somebody say, you might be living above your means if it takes two incomes to live. I didn't say it, I just heard it said. But the decade of the the decade of the 60s, the government told a woman if she removed a man from the house, they would become absentee fathers for her, provide food, clothing, and shelter. For just a little bit more than a man would bring home, especially if he was a black man. And they said, let us play absentee daddy. We'll be the daddy. And so a lot of women accepted that deal, kicked their men out. And 1902 is when the public school system was created. 1901, 1902, somewhere around there. It was called a General Education Board was created. And that was put in place to remove the parents from being the ones to educate their own children. And so what we have now in society is men who seek out personal fulfillment before everything else, including their families. And the man who takes care of the family is a blessing to all of society, not just his family. The man who does not actually becomes a burden to society. Why is he a burden? Because he's actually shifted his responsibility other than society to take care of his family. And how does he do that? They give their time, they give their money, they give their mentorship, and then the rest of our taxes get increased because when you turn over all that stuff you're supposed to do to the government makes you pay them for it through taxation. And so, first thing God told Adam to do was work. Adam didn't have no woman when he started working. Adam had to work. He had to work in that garden before he got Eve or Isha, depending on which translation you're reading. Eve's name is Isha. Adam's name is Ish. And you can look that up. But God gave Adam work first before he gave him a woman. And because, these women, you sit around and get hooked up with these guys that ain't working, keeping your car while you go to work, picking you up late, picking you up on empty because him and his home has been riding around in your car all day. He running up your electric bill sitting at home playing John Madden on an Xbox or PlayStation, eating up all the food in the house. He can't even cook food to bring when you come in from work. Y'all got to stop settling for these low standard men. You can't fix that. I actually heard a woman say the other day, she got married and, she knew the guy had some issues, but she just knew once they got married, she was going to change him for the better. And she said that didn't work. And it's never going to work. Because change or improvement is an inside job. Even me as a public speaker, I can come in and I talk to you. I can tell you what needs to be done. But if you're not willing to do it, you wasted your time listening to me. Change has to be inside. But we got to get men. We need some men. We need to be chivalrous again. And normally, a lot of times, if going out right now, I'm going out by myself because I'm going to therapy. But I asked my wife if she wanted to ride to the store with me the other day to pick something up. And when I pull in the driveway, face forward, because I'm by myself most of the time. And when we went to the store, came back home, I bagged in the driveway because that put her side of the car closer to the front door. So she wouldn't have to walk as far walking around the car. See, it's just small little things like that. Small things. It doesn't take something big and noticeable. Because I'm going to tell you something, women notice the small things. They don't, they see the big stuff, but they really notice the small gestures. So we need to get chivalry back. We need to start treating our women right. And I'm not saying all of us are treating them wrong. I'm just saying you need to start treating them right. And might need to start reading some books, and or maybe listen to some audio, depending on how you learn. The best way to learn for you. We need to learn. One of the best books I read was The Five Love Languages. Read a book called Man of Steel and Velvet. Got sent you a book called Maximize Fascinating Womanhood. I got myself a book, Maximize Manhood. I got sent you a book, Fascinating Womanhood. Power of a Praying Wife. Power of a Praying Husband. My wife and I, every day at 3 o'clock, if you call or send me a text, I won't answer. Because that's the time we set aside where everything gets shut off. And we might not be reading the same book, but we read every day at 3 o'clock. Some days we might be a few minutes early. Somebody called the other day. We're dealing with something with the house, getting the house worked on. And that was a call I had to take, so we ended up reading later that day. Because, once that call came, I knew there was some more coming behind it. And so, but 3 o'clock every day. Don't call, don't text. I mean, you call and text, just don't expect a response right then. I'll call you back or text you back when I finish reading. But I mean, it's just small things. Cynthia and I, we discuss the Bible on a regular basis. I mean, you didn't just get married to have a sex partner. And I see that's another reason why a lot of the marriages fail. I mean, just one track mind. You're supposed to marry a woman so she can be your helper. And you got to get past that one track mindedness. And but just small things. If I get up to move around, hey, you need something while I'm up? And she in turn, she'll ask me the same thing. You need something while I'm up? Like I said, you don't just have to tell your wife you love her. You sure you love her. Do both of them. A lot of times, she does most of the cooking, but every now and then, I grew up in a house. I learned how to cook at age 7, and I've been cooking since then. And so over the years, I did a lot of cooking. Once I, like I said, Cynthia's doing most of it now. But I'll get up every now and then and go in the kitchen and I'm gonna cook dinner tonight. And you can tell I'm a little out of practice. And I don't eat a whole lot of meat, but I cooked some meat the other day and it was a tad bit dry. But man, put it in a bowl and put it in the refrigerator. Put a little water on and warm it up, and it's like gravy. But small gestures, small words. Bring home a donut. Just surprise her. Bring home a donut. Just simple stuff like that. And not doing that much because she's on this is playing right now, so she's tracking everything that she eats. I mean, everything. And so I'm trying not to contribute any negativity to what she's trying to accomplish with her plan. And so, we just have to be mindful of things like that. And I think it would improve a lot of our relationships if we did that. And if our relationship improve, that means the home improves. When the home improves, that means your block improves. When your block improves, that means your neighborhood improves. When your neighborhood improves, that means your community improves. When the community improves, that means your county improves. When your county improves, that means your city improves. And all the way up to the state improvement, the nation improvement, and then the world improvement. See, we got too many selfish people in society right now. There's nothing wrong with looking at self, but we need to learn how to give of self instead of being selfish. We need to learn how to be servants. Nobody, well, I ain't gonna say nobody, but most people don't want to be servants today. They want to be served. And young man told me something he kind of wants to do as far as career-wise is concerned. And he's, I just asked him, I say, what's kind of holding you back? He said, well, to be honest, Mr. Myron, I'm lacking a lot of the tools to get started. Well, it just so happened, while getting ready to, pack up the house to move stuff out the way so they can work, guess what I had around here? Some of the tools he needed. And, not telling you to brag, I'm just saying, you can learn how to be blessed. And I met with him. I said, I got something for you in my car. He said, what you got? I said, open the trunk. Mr. Meyer. Come on, Mr. Meyer. And how much you gonna charge me? I said, it's yours. I said, I don't plan on ever doing that type of work again. I said, I just did it for around my house. I never plan on making a career. I said, I have no use for this stuff anymore. And so, what is he gonna do with it? I don't know. But we have to learn how to be blessing to other people. That stuff I gave him cost a pretty good penny when I bought it. But I haven't used it since the initial usage time that I needed it. And so we have to learn how to bless others. And I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm just telling you, let's start blessing other people. Let's start speaking to other people when we pass them. One of the saddest things to me is, I try to speak to everybody when I'm out in public. Male, female, black, white, Oriental, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. I'll speak to everybody. And UPS driver came to the house one day and said, man, you sure look familiar to me. I used to bowl years ago with my grandmother. And he said, no, I wasn't bowling. And we were just trying to put it together. And finally figured out where it was. And, even though he's grown out full beard and mustache, I still recognized him. And he was actually a TV personality for a little while there here in the Houston area. And that's where I knew him from. And so, I strive to, light a candle wherever I go and brighten somebody's day. And if we can just show a little love, we can show a little compassion. And like I said, but first thing, Robert Schuller wrote a book years ago titled Self-Love. And that's one of the most powerful books I ever read, because I thought I had a real healthy love of myself. But when I read that book, I said, man, I got some deficiencies that I need to work on. Nobody, wants to work on self. I remember starting a video off some years ago, and I'm perfect just the way I am, and that's how people are in society. They don't want to improve nothing. I don't like to say change a whole lot because people reject the word change, but they don't realize the world changing every day. And when the world changing every day, they changing too. They just don't realize it. The key is, are they changing for the better or for the worse? And so if each one of us can work on becoming a better individual, a better lover of self, it becomes a lot easier to love our spouse, to love our kids, to love our fellow man and woman, to love our fellow man and woman who may be in need. But if we don't love ourselves, we're going to struggle in all of those areas. And that's what we're dealing with in society. I mean, you look at people and they just, somebody's in distress. And instead of reaching a hand out, they want to take pictures with their phone or videos with their phone instead of reaching a hand out so they can post it to their social media account and get a few laughs or something. And, look at this person struggling or whatever. And that's unfortunate because we're trying to advance ourselves at the expense of somebody else's misery. And that's unfortunate. It's highly unfortunate. So when we start learning how to love ourselves, we can learn how to love everybody else much better. And, will you have some people that take advantage of your kindness? Sure you will. Because we're always going to have selfish people out there. That's just the way it is. We're always going to have selfish people. But let's learn how to love each other. And learn how to not just say the right things to others. We need to make the things we say heartfelt. We don't just need to be repeating words just because we think people want to hear something nice. When I ask you how you're doing, I genuinely want to know how you're doing. I mean, and if we, a lot of fathers, if you ask a lot of fathers how their children are doing in school, most of them will say good because it sounds good. But in essence, that response is very generic. Ask those same fathers how their favorite sports team or athlete is doing, and they can give you his exact stats. How many rebounds, how many shots, what's his shoot. Many a man will spend more time preparing for a 1 hour event, the Super Bowl, than they will spend preparing and talking about the future and the vision of their own families. The responses I received when I said that years ago are indications of how we as men have dropped the ball as men in society because they were sad. The responses were sad. It's not the same thing, Myron. Then, we're not supposed to have things that we enjoy. We're not supposed to have fun. We're not supposed to be amused and laugh. Well, check up the etymology of the word amusement and see how you feel about being amused. So I'm gonna cut this one off right here, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.